Good morning. Are you ready to proceed, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may call your first witness.
Applicant calls Sean Kasal.
All right, Mr. Kasal, take your time, come forward and have a seat in the chair to my left whenever you're ready. Good morning. If you'd raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be true and correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Microphone is on, so you should be all set. You can adjust the chair if you need to. Whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Kasal.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name and spell your last for the record?
Sean Kasal, K-A-S-A-L.
And Mr. Kasal, what is it that you do?
I am a digital forensics expert and a network security consultant.
What?
Network security consultant.
What does that entail?
For the past 15 years, I have served as a consultant in the network security industry, specifically in the IT markets, helping dealerships build networks, telephone systems, and helping their network security posture, as well as serving as a digital forensics expert. I have spent a lot of time learning, teaching, and instructing civilians and law enforcement in the sciences behind digital forensics and network attribution.
Does this include analysis interpretation of the digital evidence?
It does. It is the process of collecting, analyzing, and building threat reports as it pertains to evidence contained within digital devices.
So you have professional experience in digital evidence interpretation and investigation?
I do.
Can you tell me a little bit about the training you have in the area of digital forensics?
Yes. So in the industry of digital forensics, there are several software titles that we utilize on a daily basis. They are annual subscriptions for the licensing on those titles. And as a part of the renewal process, I purchased the training packages that accompany those titles from Cellebrite, Magnet Axiom, Oxygen Forensics, and Xero FTK. I also teach. I did my adjunct work at the University of Nebraska-Kearney under PhD Matt Miller, and I also am a returning guest lecturer and instructor at the Institute of World Politics in Washington, D.C., where I teach specifically in the area of network attribution and threat intelligence as it pertains to signals intelligence, social media intelligence, and open source intelligence.
So you instruct with the military?
I teach graduate students who are going to be employed by intelligence services such as CIA, NSA, and I also instruct law enforcement at the University of Nebraska-Kearney. I teach them means of correlation of data points and give them an understanding of how to build context within correlation of data.
Mr.
It's taking independent data points as it pertains to the evidence contained within devices, building timelines, and understanding how all of those data points come together to understand a full narrative of events or patterns.
Mr. Kasal, have you provided any previous expert testimony?
I have. I have testified in state courts, federal courts, and military courts.
Have you ever been appointed as a special master?
I have. A couple instances of which I was appointed to a district court judge. The situation surrounding that was the Attorney General's office of the state of Nebraska had received privileged information and pertains to communications between their client and the attorney. So my role was to be a custodian of the data and assist the judge in parsing out that privileged information so that the AG's office could have a comprehensive report of all of the other data contained within the device.
Have you ever been disqualified as a digital forensics expert in any court proceeding?
No.
Mr. Kasal, can you tell us what digital forensic evidence, what that term means?
The science of digital forensics is the ability to collect, maintain the integrity of, and analyze artifacts in digital devices such as mobile phones, tablets, computers, servers, and cloud data sources.
Are there standard operating procedures for digital forensics?
Yes, there are industry standards as defined by organizations like the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, as well as the companies who build the digital forensics tools that we use have best practices and standards for the procedural aspects of collecting, maintaining the integrity of, and doing the analysis of the data that are contained.
Would this include the investigation and interpretation of the data?
Yes.
Do you follow these standards?
Yes.
Mr. Kasal, were you retained by counsel for Todd Mullis?
I was.
And did you examine any electronic devices in this case?
I did.
How did you physically examine the data?
I was invited down to the Sheriff's Department in Delaware County to do my own independent collection of multiple devices on site there in September of 2022. And I also visited the Mullis family farm to collect some devices there as well. Specifically on the mobile devices, my assistant and I collected through multiple extraction processes those mobile devices to also include a network security recording device for cameras, which was located on the Mullis family farm, and also a satellite-based Dish Network TVR set-top box, and multiple laptops. I think there were 2.
What do you do first when you examine an electronic device?
Depends on the device. When it pertains to mobile devices, the first thing to do is to isolate that device from any connected network, placing it in airplane mode and making sure that Bluetooth and other similar network connectivity options are turned off, or by placing it in a Faraday cage or bag to make sure that it is unable to talk to any networks for fear of data corruption. At which point we connect those devices to the laptop or machine that we were using to extract that data and process it for further analysis. With laptops, it requires pulling the hard drives out of the laptops, connecting them to a forensic write blocker, which inhibits the ability to modify, tamper, or corrupt the data contained on that laptop, and do an image of the hard drive for further processing later. That same process is also followed with the hard drive contained within the camera security network video recorder, and as well as the set-top box from Dish Network.
Can you explain what exactly you mean by extraction?
So it is the process of collecting the data contained on the hard drive or the memory within a mobile device or laptop. There are multiple extraction methods available to a digital forensics investigator. With mobile devices specifically, there is logical, advanced logical, and physical methodologies available, both through Cellebrite and Oxygen forensics. That process is similar in nature for both Android and Apple platform devices, and entails different methods of collecting that data within the device.
What software did you use for the phone and iPad extractions in this case?
Cellebrite UFED, which is a Cellebrite Universal Forensic Extraction Device. I actually licensed the title Cellebrite UFED for PC, which allows me to install that on one of my laptops, making it a little bit more mobile or portable as a solution.
Can you explain the 3 types of extractions through Cellebrite?
Yes. The logical extraction process is a simple process of extracting the data as it exists on the file system of the hard drive contained within the mobile device. That is the same for both Android and iOS platforms. The advanced logical extraction process entails both a file system extraction and on the Android platform, an ADB or Android backup process. On the Apple ecosphere platform, it would also entail an iTunes backup method. And the physical process of collecting the data is very similar to the process of a hard drive contained within a computer, and that it is a bit-by-bit copy of the data contained on the drive within the device. The physical methodology is the most comprehensive and the best method to use. However, depending upon the device, the software version running on the phone and the software version of the software that I use to collect, it may not be available as a process.
After the extraction, did you do any analysis on the devices?
I did. I ingested the extracted information into Cellebrite Physical Analyzer, which is the software that Cellebrite produces for that process. And I also ran these devices through Magnet Axiom, which is another forensics title available to me, and a tool that is commonly utilized both by private sector and law enforcement. Using both tools gives a better and more comprehensive overview of the data, as both titles have specialties, meaning that those software companies have spent their resources and money on specific areas of analysis and have special or unique abilities within that software title. As an example, Cellebrite spends a lot of their research and development time finding ways to circumvent encryption processes utilized by cell phone companies, where Magnet Axiom has spent a lot of time developing ways and means to process the SQLite databases and JSON files that make up the data constructed within a mobile device. So using both tools gives a very comprehensive overview of the data contained.
You mentioned some other electronic devices. Did you do extractions for those as well?
I did.
What software did you use?
For creating the disk image of the network video recorder for the camera security system and the Dish Network set-top box, I used FTK Imager to produce an EO1 format of the disk image. And for the analysis of the network video recorder for the camera security system, I used the same software title that the law enforcement used, which was DME DVR Forensics. It was the same title that the law enforcement in this matter used for their analysis.
Did you generate a report on your analysis?
I generated a couple of different reports. I will be specific at those. A general report of my findings overall was authored, and then I also created individual extraction reports of the data contained within the different devices that I had an opportunity to do analysis on.
I would like to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 272. Is it on your screen?
I do.
Do you recognize this?
This is a current copy of my curriculum vitae, noting my professional experience, training, presentations I've done, and some of my work history, ma'am.
And you mentioned this is up to date, so there's no additions?
No, I believe this is the most current version.
And can you scroll down to page 4? And what is this, Mr. Kasal?
This is the first page of the report that I authored of my findings overall for this matter.
Does the CV and general report, fairly and accurate, represent your work and experience in this matter?
It does.
Your Honor, the applicant offers Exhibit 272.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Beyond what has been referenced, this exhibit also contains an affidavit. The report and affidavit are hearsay, and in addition to that, the report contains what this witness, essentially credibility findings of this witness, speaking about other witnesses that have testified in this case, his credibility determinations and his opinions about the truthfulness of other witnesses is inadmissible, and the report should be excluded for that reason and because it is hearsay.
Would you like to respond?
Your Honor, this goes to what happened in the underlying trial as well as the evidence that was presented, and it is a full explanation of Mr. Kasal's experience and his analysis of the data. that he extracted and analyzed. It's about the weight and not the admissibility of the evidence.
272 will be admitted. However, the court will not consider the affidavit portion of that exhibit or give any weight to any credibility determinations made of other individuals if they're referenced throughout the report. Certainly to the extent that counsel is utilizing the report in any questioning of the witness, I would ask that you avoid any of those portions, please. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you review any depositions or trial testimony in this case?
I did.
And who would that have been of?
The testimony and trial transcripts of former Deputy Travis Hemiseth and the DCI agent, Mr. Trebet.
Your Honor, I see the witness is reading from the screen. Is he reading from the report?
He is, and I can put it up on the TV if that's helpful. Maybe.
Did you also review the testimony and deposition of Ward Crowley?
I did.
Nicole, you can take down the exhibit. Did you receive and review the extraction and digital discovery evidence from Mr. Mullis's criminal trial?
I did.
Mr. Kasal, did you review the iPad that belonged to the Mullis family?
I did.
What browser was used on this iPad?
Primarily the Safari web browser.
On this particular device, did the Safari web browser default to Google searches?
The Safari web browser had the Google search engine as its default search engine.
Did you review Mr. Hemseth's testimony regarding the iPad?
I did.
And do you recall that his testimony about the search history on the iPad was falling off?
I do recall that portion of his testimony.
Was this correct?
No.
And why is that?
I'm going to object. This is going into credibility determinations. He can testify about his own findings and whether, and the court can determine if they are consistent with the underlying trial testimony.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
This is not a credibility issue. This is about the actual issues and what was actually on the iPad and the evidence that should have been presented at Mr. Mullis's trial.
Yeah, I agree. Objections overruled. Do you remember the question, sir?
Could you restate it, please?
Yes. You were about to explain the search history of the iPad falling off.
Yes. Upon visual inspection of the device, there would be a list of most recent searches that a user had done on the device. But upon the extraction and analysis of the data contained within the iPad, it reveals a longer history or a more comprehensive understanding of all the searches that were conducted on the device.
Can you explain what it would mean for searches to be falling off?
Visual inspection of the device, when tapping in the Google search area, it would show the most recent searches conducted by a user of the device. And that would be a short list, just simply because the screen is only so long and it would only represent those most recent searches that were conducted. But that does not inhibit or restrict the memory of the device or the number of searches that were actually conducted on the device itself. That would be revealed upon the extraction and analysis of the data itself.
So the evidence would still, or the search history would still be available?
In two different locations, one on the device and also as a part of the subpoena offered to Google for the comprehensive search history.
Were you able to determine when the iPad was first activated?
I believe I recall that in August of 2017, the first user activity demonstrated on the device was a connectivity to a wireless network, representing the first viable activity recognized on the device in its activation time period.
Is there a way to determine how the iPad accesses the internet?
Yes, the Apple ecosphere keeps a fairly comprehensive system log that demonstrates the network traffic that leaves or arrives on the device via its network interfaces. Those network interfaces being the WWAN interface, which would be the cellular radio on the device, or the Wi-Fi radio interface for standard Wi-Fi network connectivity.
Can you have a cellular data plan on an iPad?
There are a couple different models of iPad. One of those models does contain a radio that is capable of 3G, 4G, and now more modern 5G cellular data transmissions.
Are you aware if the Mullis family iPad had a cellular data plan?
It had a radio that was capable of cellular network traffic. The time frame in which it had a data plan attached to it was determined later.
Okay. I would like to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 256. Mr. Kasal, based on your experience in this field, is this a document that you would normally see?
Yes.
And do you often see activation plans in your work?
As a part of network threat attribution, one has to correlate multiple data points, and one of those being subscriber data to gain an understanding of the traffic that may have arrived on the device, the IP addresses associated with that traffic, and the data plans connected to them. Yes.
Your Honor, the exhibit is being displayed. This was an issue yesterday as well, where exhibits are being displayed where they haven't been admitted. Thank you.
Did you use this document to reach your opinion on whether the cellular data was activated?
It was one of the data points that I used, yes.
Counsel, and I guess I would just say, I mean, with regard to the displaying of the exhibits, again, this isn't a jury trial, and so it doesn't really matter to that end. Normally, we wouldn't want them displayed because a jury would be seeing them, but to the extent the court is the fact finder, that isn't a concern in terms of what's being seen. Obviously, we have spectators and the media viewing, so there is that, but it isn't those spectators or the media that will be the fact finder in this case. So just want to note that for the record.
And thank you, Your Honor. The one reason I point that out specifically is some of the exhibits that have been filed have unredacted personal information, social security numbers, minors' names. So if it's up before I have a chance to open the exhibit, it's difficult for me to determine.
Well, yeah, and the issue of redacting information is certainly different. There shouldn't have been anything filed with unredacted information. I think there's only been one exhibit that we've talked about that needed to be filed at a higher security level. So that is something that should be brought to my attention. So thank you for that. All right, go ahead, Ms. Steenson. Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Does this appear to be an activation plan from U.S. Cellular?
Yes.
Is the phone number the phone number listed, the one associated with the Mullis family iPad?
Yes, it correlates to the telephone number represented in the Cellebrite extraction report.
And what day was this plan activated?
I believe it was October 12th of 2018.
Your Honor, the applicant offers Exhibit 256.
Any objection?
Based on prior agreements with counsel that we will not require U.S. Cellular to come in and lay foundation, I have no objection.
256 is admitted.
Mr. Kasal, do you know when when planting is generally is?
Objection. This is the foundation.
I sustained.
Were there email accounts connected to the iPad?
Yes.
Is there evidence on the iPad that links to Todd Mullis 76 Google account?
Yes.
Is there evidence on the iPad that links to Mullis RN Gmail account?
I'm sorry.
I'll withdraw.
Okay.
That second part of the question?
Yes, is there evidence on the iPad that links to the Mullis RN Google account?
Yes, there are artifact evidence of both accounts on the device.
And is there evidence on the iPad that links the Amy Lin 5810 Google account?
I did not find any artifacts or evidence of that account being linked.
Mr. Kasal, you mentioned earlier that you reviewed the cell phones in this case. Did you analyze Todd Mullis's phone?
I did.
And what type of phone was this?
It was an LG older style flip phone.
During the course of your review of the digital forensic evidence, did you review Todd's U.S. cellular records?
I did.
I would like to show the witness what has been previously marked as Exhibit 373. Can you tell me what this document is?
It appears to be a phone record of a device in a billing period noted. This appears to be the phone records for Todd Mullis's phone.
Are the last 4 digits of Todd's phone number 1114?
Yes, as represented in the document.
Are these the records that you received from the state?
Yes.
The applicant offers Exhibit 373.
Any objection?
Your Honor, the only objection I have, as was stated in our preliminary objections, is there is highlighting added by Mr. Mullis's counsel on the first page of the exhibit. But beyond that, in agreement consistent with our prior agreement about the U.S. cellular, I have no other objection beyond that.
373 is admitted with the understanding that the highlighting, I guess, was not original to the document.
Yes, Your Honor, and I believe there has been another version filed without the highlighting in it.
Okay, thank you.
And you can take this down. During the course of review of the digital forensic evidence, did you review law enforcement's extraction of Todd's phone?
I did.
I would like to show what has been marked as Exhibit 353. What is this, Mr. Kasal?
And this is a page that was a part of the extraction report of the phone, Todd's phone specifically.
And how is it that you recognize this?
First, it notates the extraction report and the model number of the device up at the top. And it was also labeled Todd's phone. And as far as the data contained within the report, it represents some sent and received communications.
The applicant offers Exhibit 353.
Any objection to 353?
Minimally, Your Honor, there's some handwriting on it. If additional foundation can be laid, just the handwriting where it says Todd's phone, etc.
Ms. Steenson?
Yes, I believe that this. Yes. Did this? Did this come from defense counsel's file?
It did. That's not my handwriting specifically on the phone that as far as the notes on it. I recognize the report as a result of the model number of the device and the communications on it.
But this is what you received?
Yes. Minus the handwriting.
Does that address your objection, counsel?
I'm fine with it being admitted, Your Honor.
Right. Again, 353 will be admitted with the understanding that the handwriting, I guess, is not relevant necessarily to the exhibit.
Mr. Kasal, did you analyze Mrs. Mullis's phone?
I did.
And what type of phone was that?
It was a smartphone with a larger screen, a more modern device.
Are the last 4 digits of the phone number 5675?
I believe so, yes.
Did this phone have access to the internet?
It did, which was in contrary to Mr. Mullis's phone, which the flip phone had internet capabilities, but there was no artifacts or evidence of any internet usage. Where on Ms. Mullis's phone, it did have a web browser that represented artifacts and evidence of web history to include social media.
Would this also included Facebook?
Yes.
So you indicated that there had been internet searches on the phone?
On Ms. Mullis's phone, yes.
Was there any email accounts connected to Mrs.
There were
Mullis's
multiple
phone?
accounts.
Is there evidence on the phone that links to Mullis RN Google account?
Yes.
Mullis RN Google account?
Yes, there was.
Is there evidence on the phone that links to Amy Lin 5810 Google account?
Yes.
Is there evidence on the phone that links to Todd Mullis 76 Google account?
Yes.
Was there a recovery number on the Todd Mullis 76 Google account?
There was.
Can we get foundation for what this recovery number?
Just ask the question. The objection's overruled. The answer will remain in the record. Go ahead, Ms. Steenson.
Thank you. Can you tell me what a recovery number is for a Google account?
When setting up a Google account, Google wants a phone number that can be utilized to recover the account in the event of a forgotten password or a security breach, so that they can validate the identity of the user, so that they can have some means of validation that the end user is who they say they are, have the ability to then get back into the account in the event of its lock or password forgotten scenarios.
So you would be able to reset a password for a Google account through a recovery phone number?
Yes, or offer it as a means of two-factor authentication.
So you mentioned that there was a recovery number linked to the Todd Mullis 76 Google account. Whose number was that?
It was the number associated with Ms. Mullis's phone.
Briefly on the Mullis RN Google account, did you review the search history from this Google account?
I reviewed the search history both on the device and as a part of the subpoena reply from Google.
Did you notice that the Google account included searches about cabins?
I did.
Over the course of your analysis in the forensic digital evidence of this case, did you review Mrs. Mullis's U.S. cellular phone records?
I did.
I would like to show the witness what has been previously marked as Exhibit 374. Mr. Kasal, what is this?
This is a representative of some cellular communications and the telephone number associated with Ms. Mullis's phone.
And is this what you received from the state's discovery?
Yes.
I would like to admit Exhibit 374.
Any objection to 374?
No objection. Just, however, if we can clarify for the record that it's being received from the state through Mr. Mullis's counsel, but otherwise no objection.
374 is admitted with that clarification.
Mr. Kasal, did you analyze Tristan Mullis's phone?
I did.
What type of phone was this?
It was also a smartphone with a larger screen or display and had internet capability and connectivity.
Were the last 4 digits of the phone number 1864?
I believe that to be correct, yes.
Were there internet searches on this phone?
There were multiple internet searches on the device.
And what types of searches were these?
There were searches for PC games, mobile device games, several multimedia searches, and searches for very specifically military sniper-style games.
And what other types of searches were there?
There was some, under the multimedia category, there were some searches for some adult-related content.
And what type of online games did you find?
World of Warships and other similar combat-style online games.
And when you say adult content, what is it that you mean?
Specifically pornography.
And were there searches for snipers?
Yes, it was one of the games that was searched for.
Did you create extraction reports of Amy and Todd's text messages?
Yes, I created an extraction report both from Todd's phone and from Ms. Mullis's phone as pertaining to the communications between those two parties.
I would like to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 307. Mr. Kasal, what is this?
This is an extraction report of specifically SMS communications between Todd and another party, I believe it Ms. Mullis's phone, or Ms. Mullis's messages.
And did you do this extraction report?
I believe so. The cover page is missing. That would give more detail, but from my recollection, yes, this is a report that I generated of the data extracted from the phones.
And besides the missing cover page, is this a fair and accurate representation of the data you extracted?
Yes.
I would like to admit Exhibit 307 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I think more foundation needs to be laid about how this exhibit was created. It's been portrayed as communications and text messages between the two, but after, I believe, page 20 on my version of the exhibit that I was given, there's pictures, Facebook posts, all sorts of different things that I don't think were mentioned by the witness.
I think I heard the witness say they were SMS communications, so maybe we could have some further explanation, Ms. Steenson.
While you were analyzing Amy Mullis's phone, you had mentioned that she had Facebook on her phone. Did you analyze her Facebook account?
I did. And the reports that I generated of those devices may have contained more information than just the SMS or communications between the parties. It may have included other artifact evidence that was contained within the device for review by defense counsel.
Do you see these, yeah, can you tell, what page is this? Starting on page 19, can you tell us what these are?
These would appear to be social media posts or the pages represented on their social media containing images and communications or posts on those media accounts.
And is this from Amy Mullis's Facebook account?
If she was slow, so I can validate the. Yes, this would be from the Facebook account for Ms. Mullis.
Is Exhibit 307 a fair and accurate representation of the SMS extraction you did and also the Facebook post from Amy Mullis's Facebook page?
Yes, this would be an extraction report of her device containing those items.
Your Honor, I would like to renew my request to admit Exhibit 307.
Any objection at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. May I briefly, while you're the witness,
You may.
clarify this? Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Kasal.
Good morning, sir.
Up on your screen, do you have the Facebook messages there? Can you look at the bottom of one of those pages in the bottom right? Can you tell me what you see there?
Counsel, I think you probably have to identify a specific page,
Sure.
and then we'll have to have,
I'm looking at page 19. In the bottom right corner, it shows a page number. Do you see that? Once she gets there.
Yes.
And what does it say?
It has a page number of a total number of pages noted there at the bottom.
And I believe it states page 877 of 1,453. Is that what you see?
That is correct.
And this total document appears to be 46 pages, including the SMS messages. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So there is not 1,453 pages from Facebook in this document?
In this document, it would appear to be an excerpt or a extraction of specific pages within that more comprehensive report, yes.
And then if you can scroll just to, can you see the top of that page, the very top line on that, on page 19?
Which line specifically are you wanting me to look at?
So right by the e-filing stamp, is the top of that consistent with something that would be printed off Facebook, or is that something that would be consistent with coming from a Cellebrite or similar type of extraction?
Can you scroll down just a little bit so I see the bottom of the page? This would appear to be part of a print of a Facebook page. This specific page, not part of the Cellebrite extraction report.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would object on foundation, completeness, and relevance. These two mesh of documents are unrelated. I don't understand this exhibit.
yeah, I guess, counsel, do you want to respond to that? It's certainly the way that the exhibit is labeled, and I guess my understanding of what the witness did, it would appear that the first 18 pages make sense. I understand how those were obtained and where they came from. The remaining portion of the exhibit does seem to be cherry-picked pages from Facebook. Can you clarify that, please?
Just one moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
So, Mr. Kasal, you mentioned that you did an analysis on Mrs. Mullis's phone that included that she had a Facebook account. Is that right?
Correct.
And is it possible to download information from Facebook?
It is.
And how would that work?
There are multiple ways to acquire that data, primarily for the purposes of integrity. Facebook offers a process of a Facebook download in which they pull all the data from their multiple servers that contain account information, posts, messages, those types of things, and combine it within a single zip file that has a report of all that data the user may have posted or communicated via their social media. Secondarily, there are ways to scrape or pull individual posts and pages from Facebook from a computer. This is a couple of different processes that could have been utilized to acquire the information.
Is a portion of your report these Facebook extracts? Starting at page 19.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness has already testified that this is not from his extraction. These are prints from Facebook. And I'm going to add an objection under 403 that the exhibit in its current form is misleading because the page numbers continually jump around.
This exhibit does contain a portion of the Cellebrite report that I created.
Okay,
So
I apologize, sir, yeah. I mean, I guess I heard the witness say that these appeared to be pages that were printed from Facebook. It certainly does appear to be incomplete if we look at the page numbers at the bottom. So we're really dancing around that issue. So the objection sustained for now.
Your Honor, I would like to offer pages 1 through 18 of what has been marked as Exhibit 307 into evidence which represents the extraction of the SMS phone records.
Any objection to that portion of 307?
Yes, Your Honor, only because this gets back to my original objection with the exhibit, that I believe additional foundation for how because I believe the witness said this is coming from two different phones, so I believe additional foundation of how the messages were combined would be beneficial.
Ms. Steenson, would you like to lay some additional foundation specifically with regard to the, I guess, combining of the information from the two phones for purposes of creating the summary on the first 18 pages of 307?
Yes, of course, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Kasal, can you explain how you created this extraction report?
If I'm allowed to look at the previous 18 pages, I can validate. Okay. This Cellebrite extraction report here specifically is from Ms. Mullis's phone and is not a compilation of multiple devices. The first 18 pages are just the extraction report of Ms. Mullis's phone and the communications between her and Todd.
I would like to remit or renew my request to admit Exhibit 307, pages 1 through 18.
Mr. Bakke?
No objection on that portion. Thank you.
The first 18 pages of 307 are admitted.
Mr. Kasal, did you create an extraction report of Mrs. Mullis and Jerry Frazier's emails?
I created a report of the communications between those two parties, yes.
I would like to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 308. What is this, Mr. Kasal?
It is an extraction report representing emails between the two accounts noted in the second column, Amy Lin 510@gmail.com and Jerry Frasher 70@gmail.com.
What time period do these cover?
It appears to be November of 2018. Is there multiple pages to this document or just a single page?
Mr. Kasal, can you tell us how you created this extraction?
So for this report, I chose the email communications category within the Cellebrite application and extracted that data specifically into this baser document.
And is this the fair and accurate representation of the report that you created of the emails between Mrs. Mullis and Jerry Frazier?
As they existed on the device, specifically, yes.
I would like to request to admit Exhibit 308.
Yes, Your Honor. This was also raised in our preliminary objections. Many of these email communications, example beginning at page 3, states that the item was truncated due to length. I don't believe foundation has been laid as to that truncation of the emails. Additionally, it states that it contains body files. Those are hyperlinks that don't go to anything. So the messages appear to be incomplete.
Ms. Steenson, would you like to address those concerns, please?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Kasal, can you go to page 3 of this report, please? Can you tell me what it means to have this what truncate means?
When generating the report, due to the volume of the data contained within that specific communications, it leaves the final portion of that communication off as a function of generating this report. The source data that the information was derived from is complete and in totality. This report just simply pulls the rest of the data out of it. This is more a representation of that the communications between these two parties happened, and this is a overview or summary of the initial communication between the two parties.
Your Honor, I would like to renew my request to admit Exhibit 308.
Counsel?
Thank you, Your Honor. I do object, and I'm going to object on 403 that in its current form, the emails, the truncated version of the emails are misleading, especially with the full content not being available for consideration. Thank you.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
You may.
The state has all of this data. This is just for, this goes to the weight, not the admissibility. We are asking for, this is just an example of it reflects what was sent between, but the state has all the underlying data, and if they want to cross Mr. Kasal on this, they are willing to.
Counsel, do you agree that you have all of the underlying data that was used to create this report?
Yes, Your Honor. It's likely in the terabyte of information, or approximately terabyte of information that I've received. I don't believe it's a discovery issue. It's that the fact finder here is only getting partial. So I think if there's any specific email that needs to be referenced, it would be more appropriate for that full email to be admitted, not truncated partial summaries.
Certainly. I do think it goes to the weight to be given this particular exhibit, if any. 308 will be admitted.
Mr. Kasal, can you tell me what UTC is?
It's Coordinated Universal Time Code. It is a universal accepted standard for establishing a uniform way of maintaining a timestamp globally.
Is this standard in digital forensics?
It is standard in network communications as well as digital forensics, a way of establishing a baseline timekeeping methodology.
What time zone is Iowa?
Iowa is in the Central Standard Time Zone, or CDT, Central Daylight Savings Time Zone, depending upon the time of year that it is.
What is UTC time in Central Standard Time?
It is minus 6 hours from the UTC time code.
And does UTC time change with daylight savings?
UTC remains unchanged. However, the offset for Central Standard Time is adjusted by the hour.
When it is midnight in UTC, what time is it in Iowa?
Non-daylight savings time, it would be 6 p.m.
Is it typical for extractions to be in UTC time?
That's how the data contained within a mobile device is represented, is in UTC time code stamping. It is an option within the software titles to make that calculation or adjustment for Central Time or daylight savings time accordingly.
So there has to be a conversion from whatever uniform standard time is used?
Correct.
And the reviewer would have to convert to Central Standard Time or Iowa time or the relevant time zone?
The machine will automatically adjust those time code stamps accordingly, making it less prone to mistake or calculation by the end user or the analyst.
Did you review Mr. Hemeseth's testimony regarding UTC?
I did.
Was he correct that UTC is military time?
No.
Was he correct that UTC is Central Standard Time?
Central Standard Time is a time zone based on an offset of UTC. So no, that would not appear to be correct.
So the times and dates that Mr. Hemeseth testified to would be wrong?
Unless the offset was checked against the time code within the report, it would appear to be incorrect.
Mr. Kasal, did you review the Dish Network DVR system?
I did.
And did you do an extraction of this electronic device?
I did.
And this is the system from the Mullis home?
It is. The satellite TV set-top box was the device I retrieved and created a disk image of to do analysis on. I extracted specifically some log files from that device to do analysis on.
Based on your extraction, could you determine what programs were watched and stored on the system?
There are 2 log files specifically that will help an analyst understand both the listings that were available to be watched on the device and also the shows or movies that were recorded and or watched by the end users.
Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, there were a number of Arnold Schwarzenegger titles that were viewed, recorded, and watched by the end users, and a number of History Channel shows to include Ancient Aliens, some presidential history documentaries, and a number of military-style historical documentaries.
Can you provide an example of some of the shows?
Counsel, would you like to narrow your question?
Yes, Your Honor. Was there evidence of Sniper Into the Kill Zone show from the Discovery Channel on the DVR system?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Can you give an example of a Discovery Channel show that you saw on the DVR system?
Objection, relevance, and foundation.
Overruled.
I believe that there were a couple of log files extracted from the device that would represent the shows that were watched and recorded on the device. And if I could reference those log files, I would be able to better assist you in knowing all of those shows.
I would like to show the witness what has been previously marked as Exhibit 369. Can you tell me what this is?
This is a catalog.back file from the satellite set-top box, which is a file that could be used to determine what shows the user watched, recorded, or viewed on the device. It is a list of those shows and programming.
And can you go to page 15, please? And can you tell me what this is?
The daily schedule log is a log file that represents the guide. When you hit the guide button on the remote, this would show you the shows that are available to be watched or recorded on the device.
And how is it that you recognize these files?
They're documented on the Dish Network website as to gaining the understanding of what those files represent.
Is this an accurate representation of the information you extracted from the Dish DVR device?
It is.
And just for the record to be clear, this would be a portion of the extraction you did on the DVR system?
Yes, it is very specifically 2 files contained within the hard drive of that device.
So if there is a show or something listed on the log file, what does that represent? What does that tell us?
It was a show that was available to be viewed on the device as far as programming that was available at that time. And a good way to correlate it would be to compare it to another document that would be representative of the shows available to be watched, such as a TV guide or a newspaper listing of TV shows available.
And I would like to request to admit Exhibit 369 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm going to object on relevance and foundation. The witness has already testified that this is only a portion of the extraction. Additionally, this file is comprised of, I'll say, computer language instead of gobbledygook. So I don't see the relevance or how this will aid the court.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
You may.
Your Honor, the state has the underlying data for this extraction. This is just a portion of the extraction is quite large, and it goes to weight and not admissibility. This will go into explaining later on the digital, correlating with the digital evidence that was presented at Mr. Mullis's criminal trial.
Do I understand correctly that this is just a listing of shows that were available through Dish to be watched? I mean, not necessarily shows that were watched, correct?
There's 2 files here, and one of them is, as you say, it's a list of files that could be watched. The first portion of this report were the shows that were actually watched or recorded by the device.
And how do I tell that by looking at this exhibit?
So at the top of the page of this particular exhibit that we have open, where it says daily log, that is the file, the shows that could be watched, like the guide part of it. The first part of this file, which was
Can you go to page 1?
the .back file, which comprises of pages 1 through the catalog.back up at the top right there that you see indicates the shows that were recorded or watched, and that comprises of pages 1 through
Your Honor, while he's looking, I'm going to add an objection on calls for speculation because I don't see anything in this that indicates when or if these were actually watched.
Well, I mean, that's my next question, is the date. I don't remember that there was a specific date provided.
there's the end of the back file right there. So everything preceding that daily log file portion of this report were the shows that were watched or recorded. To correlate the date of the actual viewing of those shows, the TV guide listing for the time period of these shows in question would represent those timestamps.
Okay, well, the next problem we have is I'm looking at what is page 14 of this exhibit of the document that was uploaded, which does not appear to be the same page 14 of what I'm seeing maybe on the screen. So let's go ahead and take our morning break at this time and see if we can try to sort this out. We'll plan on coming back at about 10:25. Thank you.
Yeah, you step down.
I don't know if you want to just step back and let's make sure we're all looking at the same thing.